Crone here. I'm a violist in New York City, a co-founder of the Till Project for String Players, and a musician's vocal dystonia recovery advocate. Today's video is part of a series on 5 physical habits to avoid for vocal dystonia recovery and prevention for string players. And the one I will be discussing today is curling. If you have a different injury or you aren't injured, you can still stick around because everything I'm going to share is valid in those cases as well. Before I go any further, I do want to mention that if you're new to this channel, you might want to check out one of my previous videos where I discuss how I recovered from dystonia and the approach that I use to assist others. I'll leave some links down below, but basically the process of learning healthy movement based on sound physical logic with violinist Sophie Till changed my brain and nervous system. After 2 years of work with her, I returned to professional playing. I now play 100% dystonia free and even better than before my injury. And it's my great privilege to be able to help others with this information. So without further ado, curling. Let's start with the left hand. So if you think back to your early days learning a string instrument, did your teacher ever tell you to curl or curve your fingers? If they did, you're not alone, mine did too. And it's a pretty common instruction. The thumb, by the way, can also end up curled. It'll look like this. What we're actually doing when we curl the fingers is we are pulling the last joint of the fingers inward, which you can already feel creates tension. Now in contrast, check this out for a second. Let your fingers be in their normal shape, that is neither curled nor flexed or extended, and just flutter them like this. Feels pretty easy and fast, right? Now try curling them like this. Kind of slow and laborious in contrast. So the other reason that our fingers are so fast like this, apart from the fact that they're in their normal shape rather than curled, is that they have a forearm aligned behind them for support. And that gets at the other reason why curling is problematic. When we curl our left hand fingers, it disables them from accessing the power that they need to engage the string, which comes from the forearm. So let's check this out. If you just massage your temples for a moment, and you can do it lightly at first and then maybe more deeply, you'll notice first of all that you don't curl your fingers. They're just in that nice easy curve. Second, you'll notice that the power to rub more deeply comes from your forearm. It gets sent through the forearm, wrist, palm, and finger into your head. And furthermore, that power is conducted through the whole structure because of the way all of the elements in that structure are beautifully aligned and resilient, meaning that they give and then they bounce back. So if we curl our fingers like this, we're violating the structural integrity that makes this whole thing function sensibly as a unit toward the surface that we're touching. The joints in the fingers aren't oriented toward the surface we're in contact anymore. They're pulling backwards. The final problematic aspect of the left hand fingers curling that I'll mention is that we end up contacting the strings on the tips of our fingers when we curl them. Now, many of you might say that that is a good thing. How many of us were told play on the tips of your fingers? I know I was. But if you just drum your fingers on the side of your leg for a second. First of all, it might be a little hard to see, but can you notice that they're in that easy curve rather than curled? Also, notice that you probably weren't aiming the tips of your fingers toward your leg. You probably weren't aiming any particular part of your finger at all. You just felt firm, stable contact, and all of the fingers feel about the same. Okay, so now try pulling your fingers in and drumming right on the tips by your nails. It feels a lot more difficult. Also notice how much less sensation and sensitivity you have on the tips compared to the pads. And lastly, notice how much more control you have over the depth of contact for each strike point when your fingers are in their normal shape, touching on the pads. That's because here they can access the power and control of the forearm, which is the same as when you massage your head either lightly or more deeply. All right, so let's say you're curious about parting with this curling stuff in the left hand, but what's the alternative? Because this is really important. If we don't have an alternate way of doing something, we're only thinking don't do that, which is the negative, and the brain can't really operate from the negative. So I'm actually going to link below to a video about this topic called 4 Equal Fingers. It's one of Sophie's original videos, but the basic idea is this. The forearm aligns behind a team of 5 fingers with 1 finger touching. We use a principle called walking hand and arm to send the arm to the right place for each finger according to the length of that finger. In other words, so that 2 doesn't have to curl and 4 doesn't have to stretch. And the fingers just keep their easy curve and they play on the pads, no problem, just as they do in every other activity. Playing this way also addresses the fact that since the fingers are unequal by design in length, size, and lift-drop capacity, they need to function as part of a team that includes all of these elements in order to feel equal. Of course, there are other ingredients that enable us to do this at speed, but that's a little bit much to get into in today's video. So a frequent source of curling in the right hand is with these 2 fingers, the thumb and the pinky. And how many of us were told to curl our pinkies and bend our thumbs? Or given exercises like this. So let's try something. Just shake your hand out, let it be neutral, and then hold it up. Now curl your pinky. Can you feel the tension from that retraction radiating up the ulnar side of your arm? And can you feel how this makes it impossible for the pinky to act with the rest of the fingers as a conduit for the power of your forearm? So you can try this by picking something up, anything, and just notice that the fingers are holding it as a team with the power of the forearm behind them. Normal, right? Okay, now curl your pinky. That's pretty strange and unnecessary, right? Okay, let's try the thumb. Now, to be clear, if you look at your thumb in a neutral state, many of us will see that bump of the last joint, and that's normal. But a lot of us were taught to further bend the thumb like this, kind of like a pinch. Can you feel how much tension this creates in the wrist and across the palm? Now, some of us might have the opposite tendency to thrust the thumb, different kind of tension. And notice what this does to the other fingers. They want to copy the thumb, yes? So curling or thrusting the thumb totally violates the easy oppositional holding mechanism that we use all the time with other objects. So just pick something up and notice your thumb neutral, right? Now bend it into that pinch mechanism. And now try the thrust. Both weird and unstable, right? Not only for the thumb, but also for the other fingers. Now the thing is, we pick up objects all the time without curling our thumb and pinky, right? I've got this water bottle, but you could try a tube of lipstick or maybe a marker or a pencil. And it's true, the fingers are different lengths, but if we don't have to curl the pinky to get it onto this object, if we just want the pinky to do its pinky-sized part in holding it, we just rotate the forearm so that it lands in the right place. But what about a bow, you might ask? It's much longer and heavier than a pencil. And that's true. But notice that the hand is only partially holding it because the instrument is doing the rest. So there's no need for the pinky to curl or push to keep it level any more than you would need to do that with your pinky to keep the bow level if it was just resting on a table. So this is just a brief catalog of a couple of the most common examples of curling when it comes to string playing, but there are others. And the bottom line is, if we want to stay out of pain and injury, we have to use our bodies in ways that don't violate the same physical logic that we use every day. That's true for tendonitis, carpal tunnel, general discomfort, and it's true for dystonia as well. I hope you found today's video helpful. If so, please like it and share it. For more dystonia tips, you can subscribe to my channel, and to know more about the TIL approach, you can subscribe to the TIL Project. I'll leave links to both below. If you want to know more about me or about my work, please visit my website, www.noracrone.com. Thanks so much. Take care.